Welcome to the Tiger Interview Series.
Hey everyone, we have Brian Fitzmaurice of Fitzmaurice Performance in the house. We are going to be talking about in-season training, online training. Also, we are going to destroy the myth that you can't gain muscle during the season. This is a fabulous episode, a lot of practicality, a lot of takeaways when it comes to in-season training and nutrition. You are going to absolutely love this episode. Make sure that you like this video and also subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as the podcast on Apple Podcasts. You can also follow it on Spotify. Enjoy. Welcome back, everybody, to the Tiger Interview Series. Today, we have a special guest, Brian Fitzmaurice of Fitzmaurice Performance, good friend, one of the few guys that I trust in the strength and performance training industry by far. So much so that I recommend people constantly to you. So we also have Aaron Jaworski, owner of the Tigers.
How are we doing, guys?
Owner of this podcast. So the pressure is completely on.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
So today, guys, we're going to be talking about building the proper athlete, in-season training. Also, I'm very intrigued by online training. Fitz has been experimenting with that since COVID, right? Since March.
Yeah.
We're at the year.
Yeah, we've been doing, I wouldn't say online for a long time, but distance for a long time. As far as Zoom and stuff like that, I'm not a huge fan of that, but we do it. Yeah.
But I'm intrigued by this because the travel industry is increasing.
100%.
And guys are not getting their bodies right.
Right.
During the year, and then I see it, like, literally they break down.
100%.
Once July hits,
yeah.
We better get all our wins in June,
yeah,
and then we're just surviving.
Yeah, exactly right. Bodies fall apart, get in a bad routine, which we'll talk about in a second, but yeah, for sure.
Yep. So the main premise of this conversation is going to be in-season training because we are making that transition to the season, and I'm intrigued by how you view the switch, the transition. So I'm looking forward to that. But before we jump into that, I want you to do a brief introduction. I know I didn't do it justice.
Hey, listen, I'm not that important of a guy. Spiker kind of oversold me. But the bottom line and my passion is developing athletes. I've been doing it for 20 years. Fitzmaurice Performance, we're based in Ellisville, and we have training here at the Tigers facility with the club. And I've been doing it for about 3 years. This is my passion. This is my full-time gig, and I love developing athletes. We work with guys and girls from youth up to pro, all sports, but we work with a lot of good baseball players as well, from high school, college, minors, and pros. So, my passion is athlete development, not just strength conditioning. It's the building a complete athlete, like you talk about, which we could expand upon in a second. But that's my passion. My passion is educating, motivating, aspire athletes to become their best, period. And that's on and off the court. So that's what we do.
If you guys haven't listened to the Closing Pitch podcast, that's the OG of our podcast,
right?
And Brian was on that. So if you want to go back and really listen to, we did in October. It was around October. And we talked about the winter and how to approach it. I felt like this was more proper because I wanted to target more towards the Tigers and make sure that they know when they head into the season because, again, it's a pain point of mine. So I'm being a little bit selfish here.
Most definitely.
And trying to get them to understand that their training doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. The reality is this. Athlete development is a 365-day year-round process. So the process never stops. Mm-hmm. It will change a little bit. So there's certain keys that you have to focus on during the complete year. So we always say, first and foremost, it's mindset. You develop your mindset year-round. There's never a day off where you're just going to let your mind go down the drain and be negative and not be focused, not be concentrating on what you have to focus on and achieve. Your lifestyle, as far as what you're doing with your nutrition, as far as your sleep, all that stuff, that never changes. You're constantly working on that. Strength and conditioning is a year-round commitment. All right, that's from the ages of 13, 14 on up. If you want to be prepared for be a college athlete, then you have to put yourself in that position to develop year-round. That's a year-round commitment. So we say there's certain things that you have to look at and working on getting better on a year-round basis. So strength conditioning is as a strength conditioning coach, that is my primary focus, is number one, athletes have to understand this is a year-round commitment. This is not seasonal. This is something you do all the time. As you'll ask later, you'll say, hey, how does it change, in season versus off, to prep those questions.
Because it's funny because guys will just literally be like, oh man, I made it to the finish line. I'm done.
The season's here.
The season's here. All I got to do is head to practice and I'm good. I'm golden.
Right. And 100%. And it's not just my opinion. Okay. I'm a self-proclaimed expert on this. Okay. But this is industry best practice and research and proven through science. Okay. Not just my opinion. There's very smart sports scientists that are smarter than me have proven this. Within about 2 to 3 weeks, you start declining in your performance. Okay.
Once you stop.
Once you stop.
So 2 to 3 weeks, like you're not even in the first game yet.
And you start declining in force production as far as your strength output, your power output,
so
your
speed.
speed.
all that training that you did all the way up to that point. So like, man, I gained velocity off the tee.
100%.
I gained velocity here.
That's why you see guys, their velo drop when they're pitching, when they're hitting. You see those values drop if they're not training. Okay, that's just proven science. That's not my opinion.
When do you think like the peak time when you see like fastballs peak during the season?
Well, you guys have your opinion. You guys are experts on this, but it depends if an athlete's training or not. You know what I'm saying? Because
let's just say the guy doesn't train. I mean,
peak week one.
And then
but the reality
you're
is,
declining
if
after
you're,
that.
Historically, guys, preseason training, here I am, boom, season's here. Okay, so you'll see, it depends if it's MLB versus college versus high school or youth, right? In the high school, I would say that's what we're focusing on. Hopefully guys are training hard and hitting the season. So that first phase, they should be performing their best. Okay. But that second step is they should be, get into an in-season training program. Okay. So they preserve and maintain, if not progress in their physical abilities. Okay. So from athletic development model, we're focusing on, my focus is long-term athletic development. It's just not today, tomorrow, 3 months, 6 months, a year from now. Now this concept was developed by some Canadian sports scientists. Okay, that was first adopted in Canada. Okay, so that was more from the Olympic development model. Okay, so Canada was really the first to adopt it through their government. Okay, so they call it preschool to podium. All right, so that philosophy of the scientific approach of developing an athlete from the ages of running around the playground to achieving a gold medal, they have those benchmarks and progression through the whole transitional phase. They
literally thought that way?
Let me tell you this. The USA has adopted it also. USA Baseball, I just looked into it today, okay? Now, I'm pretty well versed on pretty much all sports as far as the development model, but so like USA Football, which of course I'm a football background, I coach football. So USA Football has adopted that also. USA Basketball has, USA Baseball has. So not only do they have the development model, okay, so they have from ages 4, 5, and 6 up through ages of 18 plus and then beyond. So the key is, number one, you want to encourage kids to be active from a young age. And I'm getting off on a different subject, but going through progressive phases of development, and they lay out, hey, this is how many times you practice, this is how many times you should be working on your skill, this is how many times you do this phase, that phase, going on to peak out, and perform your best and basically train to win, at the upper high school ranks through collegiate and beyond. So a lot of even the American organizations have adopted that long-term athletic development model, and it's watered down. It's interpreted by different organizations, especially with baseball. That's through a primary skill progression, and you guys do the same thing here with the Tigers as far as how you're progressing through as we're getting older with your programs year to year and stuff like that. But the same thing. The missing link, and I analyzed all these different models through the American sport, long-term athletic development model, and a lot of them. So, like football, strength conditioning is plugged in, right? So, in the Canadian model, strength conditioning was part of those different levels throughout that athletic development model. Okay, so in some of the American models, it's faintly incorporated. Okay. So that's problematic because the original model that was created by sports scientists, strength and conditioning, was part of all the developmental phases. It wasn't optional. Okay, so if you want to go from preschool to podium and achieve a gold medal for your country, this is what you do.
So you had to choose.
This is what you do.
That sounds very Russian-like.
No. It's not even. It's not that harsh because no. Let me backtrack because it's not as harsh. Not for me.
I'm giving you.
Are they forcing single sports with that?
No. So let me backtrack.
Okay.
Yeah.
The development model is actually very loose in the beginning.
Okay.
Hey, kids play in the playground, multi-sport participation as they get a little bit older.
So it's not like these crazy parents.
Not
that,
early specialization. You
like
should be playing basketball and soccer and all these things. You know,
we got to get 1,000 swings off the tee.
No. So it's not even that.
not even
It's actually the first phases. Are like fundamentals, training to train. Train to compete and then train to win.
So it's adoption. Like you're trying to get that.
You're slowly trying to get them to stay active, have fun, start thinking about sports participation, get into a team participation, play different sports so you can cross train and develop your body, and then it's going to get a little more serious as specialization occurs, stuff like that. But as we talked about the last podcast, the American model, we specialize early.
Yeah.
And that's what we talked about also. I know I'm getting off tangents, but
hey, it's all right.
But the thing is, especially as a lot of your athletes play soccer, like your son plays basketball, plays different sports, which I encourage because guess what? Your foot skills, your change of direction, your acceleration, deceleration, you could jump.
It goes back to that training life that we talked about.
Because a lot of kids that come to us and all they play is one sport, they literally can't do anything besides that. Or POs that don't play their sports. I pitched all my life. I'm like, can you run side to side without tripping?
The non-athletes.
No, so I'll bring in minor league pitchers. They've been pitchers like their entire lives. So I'm like, you ever play a different sport? No. Could tell that. So literally, I have to do an agility. Like, well, how does this help me throw harder? I'm like, it's not. It's going to help you become more athletic. So if someone hits a ground ball to you, you don't fall on your face or trip. I mean, literally, you can look like an athlete. So anyways. So we focus on long-term athletic development. So getting back to kind of circle back around what you're saying is, I'm not so focused on today. It's what am I getting ready for tomorrow? Okay, so you got to think long-term first before you think short-term. Okay, so I know we're focused on the season today, but I would encourage all kids to kind of zoom out and say, what are we working towards? Truly, if we were a development club preparing kids for the next level, then we got to think long-term. Okay, so if you're a freshman and sophomore, and then you want to be your best at that level, but you're also preparing yourself to get recruited the next few years. You're preparing yourself for collegiate participation. So there's certain things we have to achieve along the way. So we're thinking about preparing for the season. That's not my focus, really. You know what I'm saying? When I'm working with athletes, I'm like, dude, yeah, we got to get ready for the season. I need you strong, fast. I need you at X amount this weight, running this fast. But I'm not even focused on that. Yeah. I'm thinking about, after this season, where are you going to be if you don't continue this program? Because then we're going to start over it, and I need you ready at this point, after that season to get you ready to be recruited. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. So
really, it's my focal point is that long-term athletic development, and really thinking about the long term is preparing kids for college. You know what I'm saying? And for some kids and some parents, this conversation is not for them. You know what I'm saying? If you just want to make the team and you really have a good time wearing the gear, that's terrific. And you have a great time doing it. But I'm talking about kids that truly want to tap into their potential, become their best at the high school level, to get recruited, to play in college, and beyond. This is the conversation, because the reality is if that's not your intention, it's not your philosophy, that's not your mindset, you're not going to listen to this anyways, because you're going to think I'm very extreme and you don't have time to work out during the season, and Fitz is completely crazy and Spiker's crazy for having mom.
See, what I think is
well said.
What I think is well, I wouldn't say think. What's frustrating is that people jump the gun too early. Parents will jump the gun way too early, so they don't think about the game adoption. First, what does the player actually like to do? That's the first thing, which goes back to that podium time frame. But more importantly is like letting them have fun until they get to, what would you say, middle school age?
100%.
And then they can start. Then you can start thinking, are they really interested to actually make a push at this? That's
what we're talking about with that model. The first stage is fundamentals. We're supposed to have fun. And I tell this to 10, 11, 12 coaches. I'm like, they're on my tail because we're not serious with the kids. I'm like, yo, you need to back off. I've been doing this a long time.
Yep.
You need to chill out. Literally like helicopter just all over the place. Coaches all over, like, they're not doing it properly. They're not pushing hard enough. They're not serious, not tuned in. They're not focused. I'm like, bro, they're going to quit in about a year because you're
just going nuts.
You're going ham, bro.
You're going straight ham.
We're not trying to produce 12-year-old pros. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to keep the kids engaged in the sport, have fun, like you say, have fun with their teammates. And as it gets older, I say, you know what? There's a time and a place, dude. We're supposed to have some fun here. Let's just teach them how to run, how to move, and stuff like that. Because when you get to be 14, 15, 16, it's game on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's time to it's do or die. If you want to get recruited, if you want to play the next level, dude, there's no negotiation. This is what you have to do.
What are the proper ingredients for a strong athlete?
For a complete athlete, getting back to building the complete athlete, it's mind, body, and game. You know, people make it real intricate and sophisticated.
So 3 things.
It's just 3 things.
Mind, body.
You got to have your mind in the direction, right? Body and game. Okay, I'll break it down. Mentally, we always encourage all of our athletes to have a growth mindset. A lot of kids don't know that.
Keep learning.
Keep learning. Whatever you want to get better at, you could get better at.
Which goes back to be willing to read books.
Read books. They teach us in our local school district. My kids learn that when it's Stephen Covey principles. Begin with the end in mind. Woo, long-term athlete development. Mm-hmm. Where do I want to be when in college? Okay, what do I have to do starting today? And have a road. How do I get there? You know what I'm saying? These are a lot of them are Covey principles. Okay, have a growth mindset. That means pull your head out of your rear. Okay, anything you want to get better at, you get better at with the right mindset.
Yeah.
Some people, bubblegum positive. No, it's not like that. Okay, the bottom line is you got to open up your mind to the potential of where you can go and achieve. Okay, that's number one. You got to have goals, short-term goals, long-term goals. You got to have a vision of what you want to accomplish and achieve. Okay, you got to have the right mindset. Eventually, you're going to have to toughen up a little bit too. Okay, as we talked about last time, is you got to develop a little mental toughness. Because guess what? Sports hard. It's competition. There's winners. There's losers. You're not always going to be a winner. Okay,
You're going to fail a lot.
you're going to fail a lot.
I think that's the biggest gift,
especially in baseball.
I think that's the biggest gift that a parent could give is the gift of competition, like teaching someone how to deal with winning, losing, but also being so competitive that I want to win. I want to win really bad.
My best players are there because they lost more, and they dealt with it, and they got over it. And now you could hit them over the head with failure, and they'll just look at you like, bro, get out of my way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the gift of losing and failure is learning from it.
We do that with our team a lot at practices is create competitions, within the practice.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's just all winter and off season and in season, whether it's a bunting competition or situational hitting, kind of getting sidetracked on baseball. But it's just you learn to fail, but you also learn to compete while you're doing it.
Or even like the game Survivor. That's the Survivor game with the ground balls.
Yeah. Yep.
That is such a
last guy standing.
Yeah, like it's King of the Hill basically.
Yeah.
And when the kid gets knocked out, like, oh dang it.
Yeah.
And then you see that competition. You know right away who's the person that just like accepts failure and just like I don't want to compete anymore. And then you see the kid like, man, I got out. I'm gonna go back in there and let's play another game.
Well, I think a lot of kids have to be taught how to compete. And I think competition in some regards in our culture is getting pushed back on. Like, hey, it's not about that. We all should just get along and we're all equal and no one should thrive. Like, no, dude. In sports, that's not the rules of engagement. We want to compete in everything we do. So who's going to be at practice first? Who's going to stay later? Who's going to work harder? Who's going to push harder?
It's almost like it's a way for them to win against the competition when they go neutral. They're like, you know what? I'm just going to take my ball and go home. I mean, that's
not
literally
good because I say developing champions in sport and life. We're not preparing them for sport or for life because the reality is, they come work for Jaws and they're like, well, I'm not really into competition. I don't really care if Specker's better than me. Yeah. Okay, you're fired. So, and I'm getting off a tangent. Sorry. Anyways.
I love it.
Right. We're not losing.
We're not losing.
We're not losing.
Hey, we compete at everything, bro. We compete to. I like drink it. Mizzou, we compete to eat. Okay, everything we do is about competition.
Yep.
The sooner you can install that at a young age, like, yo, we compete, man. Okay, but we lose too, and we're gonna learn how to lose, and we're gonna be good losers. You know what I'm saying? Are we gonna like losing? No, but it's part of the game.
Yep.
But we're gonna figure out how to lose and how to get better.
So mine.
Okay, so mine. You got to have that mindset.
Body.
I go off on tangents of the mindset for a long time. Body, 2 things: strength conditioning, proper nutrition, lifestyle. Okay, so you have to develop your physical abilities. There's biomotor abilities as far as strength, power, speed, agility, foot quickness, explosion. All these things are developed through proper strength and conditioning. That's year round. Okay. 2, proper nutrition. You got to eat right. Okay. You could be a beast in the cages, freaking dropping bombs, max velo, be explosive fast. But if it fuel your body with the wrong foods, guess what's going to happen? On one of these tournaments or double headers, you're going to be gassed. You'll be running to the freaking concession stand trying to slurp down a Pepsi and a freaking thing of nachos because you're gassed. All right, so you got to eat right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's for energy, recovery, growth, development, all these things. You got to fuel your body right. Okay. Outside of that, as far as your sleep, as far as your lifestyle, as far as these things, that encompasses developing your body. You know what I'm saying? Your game. What do you guys focus on? Like we talked about the last podcast, getting back to the Russians, you got to master your sport. Okay, the Russians were into sport mastery.
Acquire skills.
Acquire skills. You
Master
got
skills.
to be a master technician. Okay, that's where, not to rip on baseball players and a lot of other athletes and other sports, they're master technicians, but they do nothing else. They don't develop their mind. They don't develop their body. They're not eating right. They're master technicians though, but all of a sudden they're passed up by a kid who has half the skills, but is working on the mindset, stronger, faster, eating the right foods, and is willing to work hard. You know what I'm saying? But maybe a kid's just really talented with their skills. So you got to have, in my opinion, all these skills to become a complete athlete. You know what I'm saying? So I would say the biggest missing link we talked about for baseball players is proper strength conditioning year-round, proper nutrition, and working on that mindset. You know what I'm saying? Now, this is something you're working all the time. It's not like you're going to, do everything all at once and I'm going to be like pro level, and everything tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? It's just putting a little bit of getting back to the growth mindset. It's putting a little bit of effort in these areas, to get better every day. That's it.
How long can an athlete train for? Are you like on the David Goggins end of things where if we're going to go,
No,
we're going to go 15 hours in
he
that
scares
puke?
me, bro. He scares me. Let me tell you this.
Because this goes down the in-season route, because I think a lot of players think that, and we're going to get down like being tired and
Let me tell you this.
everything,
Let me
and
tell
like
you
rest
this.
days.
A proper, well-designed strength conditioning program and nutrition program is going to leave you with more energy. It's going to help you recover faster, be stronger, and be at your best year-round. Okay. On the reverse, okay, we see repetitive use injuries from athletes. That's all they do is one thing. Okay. I don't care if it's throw or hit, whatever it is. You have to unwind your body. That's where we get into mobility, flexibility, corrective exercise, proper strength training. That actually reactivates your central nervous system and your muscles, okay, to perform better. Feel better, number one, okay, but perform better, number two, okay? So that's the biggest question I get from a lot of people is, well, I'm so busy, I can't, I'm going to overtrain. You can't overtrain if you're not training. There's no such thing. If you're just playing sport every single day, there's no such thing.
Okay, if we're go down the overtraining route.
Okay.
Like I'm thinking to myself, because like I would train. I would put in about 8-hour days. It would be about 8-hour days.
Now you would consider probably top 1 to 3%.
Okay.
Okay. So the enemy for us is not overtraining. The enemy for us is no training.
Actually doing it.
You're not training. Most kids do not adhere to an in-season strength conditioning program. I would say the majority of baseball players don't. Okay, so the enemy is not like, yo, I'm training 4 or 5 days a week. I'm like, bro, you need to cut back a little bit. That's a little excessive.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We could look at 2, max 3 a week, and that's perfectly fine. That's what my minor league guys and my pro guys are doing. That's plenty, dude. If you've been training 3 or 5 years and you're doing 3 in the in-season, that's enough. If you push too hard, you're going to start overtraining. That's a very rare conversation I have with some of my guys. Like, you're doing too much.
So it's almost like you got to find that in between no training versus CrossFit training. Like literally hardcore
100%.
CrossFit pterodactyls that are like literally pulling out 12-hour days.
I'll have conversation with some guys like, yo, dude, I'm hitting heavy deads and this and it cleans. I'm like, bro, that's not good for baseball. You know what I'm saying? But that's a rare conversation. You know what I'm saying? Most guys, this sounds real negative, aren't that driven. You know what I'm saying? So the enemy for most athletes is not doing enough during the season. Strength and conditioning. I'm not saying you're not working hard. I'm going to jab at baseball players again.
Hey, it's all right. It's a baseball podcast, so I mean,
all my baseball players love me. I have a top 10 list I like to dig on my baseball players about.
It's because you care. You love them so much.
I'm just being honest, okay? Because my early days, all I trained was football players and fighters, okay?
Yep.
So if your reference point is UFC fighters and first round, blue chip football players,
there's no comparison.
Okay.
I mean, literally fighters versus baseball players. Fighters are definitely winning that battle.
When we talk about overtraining, when I'm talking about a fighter who's training 8-9 hours a day, I'm like, bro, you need to back off a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So baseball, you got to look at, as a strength and conditioning coach, we look at the needs and demands of our athletes from a scientific standpoint. Okay. So we have to look at, what are the demands? What are the physiological, psychological, the physiological and physical demands of baseball? Okay. And what impact of those rigors has on an athlete's body? Okay, so this is where baseball players get really mad at me. If you're trying to decide between bubble gum and sunflower seeds, and you're standing in the outfield half the game, that's not really hard. Okay, and you're worried about what you're eating for dinner and you're daydreaming. Okay, that's not very demanding. Okay, if you're a catcher. If you're a pitcher that's freaking throwing too many pitches, that's very demanding on the body.
Yeah.
Different conversations. But I'll say a lot of the players, depending on the output, they put in during a game, for a lot of players, their recovery should be full pretty quick. Especially for a lot of the younger athletes. As it gets older, you got to be more methodical about your recovery and your training and all these things, okay? But for most high school kids, for in-season strength training, like we said last podcast, 2 sessions per week, year-round, 100 sessions per year is minimal, okay? That's just for beginners, okay? For our more advanced guys, in-season training is going to look like 3 sessions, for the in-season. You know what I'm saying? So our older guys are doing 3 strength sessions per week. Okay, so if you're not doing that and you're dipping down to 1 or to 0 or you're skipping weeks, that's where we get back to the decline of your strength, your power, and your physical abilities. Okay, so looking at that year-round annual model or the long-term model, we're not going to make the progress we're looking for from 3, 6, and 12 months. You know what I'm saying?
What's the average? What do athletes average like that you see? Do you think it's 0? Like most
baseball players?
Yeah, just like their training. Is it 0?
What do you think? I don't know.
I bet it's by age.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the pro guys and minor league guys,
Oh, yeah.
obviously,
You
like
have no
they're,
choice.
they're
I think it's
dialed
by-
in, and
yeah.
college players,
It has to be education, right? Because like they only know what they know, right?
Yeah.
Until they get a Fitzmaurice that comes in and
yeah,
basically tells them like what the hell you're doing.
That's I always contemplate this question is how do you communicate more effectively to athletes? Because it's cultural, you know what I'm saying? So like looking at different sports, some that's just what you do. Like in say football, you're gonna get murdered if you don't train year round.
Yeah.
You'll get squashed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like we talked about last podcast, in baseball, it's kind of forgivable. If you're not, some athletes are 185 pounds and diesel, the kid that's $150, yeah, he's running fast, but no one's gonna, no one's gonna crush him.
You know what I think it is? I think it's guys lean towards, oh, that kid is genetically better than me. And then they're like, well, what's the point? I'll just keep playing. Like he's good. He's better than me. I'm just middle of the road, and I'm okay with being average.
I say this, man, for any athlete that
And then again, this is not like youth. This is like high school,
dude.
trying to reach.
My
college.
thing is this, and I get it. Some kids, and I talked about that we train, they're on the fence if they want to play college or not. I get it. That's the conversation you have to have, and I think you have to ask yourself, am I in or am I out? Some guys just go through the motions because they don't think they're going to play college, right? So when they're playing for you guys, they may be like, hey, I just want to have fun with this. I want to be good, and then I'm going to hang out my cleats. Yeah, I get it, man. You want to have fun? That's totally fine. I would just say, hey, do some training to prevent injury so you don't blow out your ACL or blow out your shoulder or hurt yourself. Yeah. That's the biggest thing. Injury prevention is number 1 for us. But, for the conversation, to the kid that truly this is for college prep and they want to get recruited and they want to play at the next level and not just ride the pine, that's a totally different conversation. And this is really what the conversation is geared for, is the kids that want to develop, that want to get recruited, that want to prepare for college, not just riding the pine, but impacting at the next level.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even at high school, I would never understand why someone would just be okay with sitting the bench. Like even though you possibly are going to sit the bench because again the skill set's just not there.
Yeah.
But working towards trying to get onto the field.
Right. It happens, and I hear it from some coaches, and you know more than me as far as tryouts. Some kids just like show up like, "Hey, Dad, where's my glove at? Like, is my bat in storage?" I'm like, I mean, why are you here?
Yeah.
I mean, but you get that. You hear that at the high school level, kids trying out. I'm like, bro, you haven't been in the cages. You've been doing nothing. You haven't been working out, nothing. You just, you don't even know where your glove is. Are you serious?
Yeah.
And then you
For
get
sure.
cut, and you're going to be the first one crying about it.
I always think about that's like a life skill too. Like, what are you going to do when you go for a job interview? Like, oh, did you bring my resume?
Mom, yeah, like, bro,
Dad, where's my resume?
did you print it out? Told you to. Yeah.
Hey, where's my suit?
I think with the training too, a lot of it is routine. Like, and I see it more these days than we did when we started the Tigers like 12 years ago. Is I think it's all getting closer to where guys like you want it and us too, where they're making the training part, performance part of their, the baseball side, part of their baseball routine. So they got their instructional piece with groups or practice or their trainers, but then they're also adding in that performance side. And I think it's just as important as taking a lesson or going to your group classes. Like
Right.
you need that. And it's a culture thing too, right? Like kids, I know kids want to go see you. I know my son does.
Oh, yeah.
We had a game Sunday. We played triple header in the cold. We were out there for 9 hours. Well,
Yeah.
he wanted to go to Fitz the next day, and I was like, "That's cool." For me to hear that, that's neat as a
it's
parent
huge.
because it means it's starting to click up here, where that's what it's going to take.
They have the desire.
and he's got a long way to go and everything, but it's
It's
in his-
developing those habits. Like Kyle Bodie had a really good point on one of his podcasts, owner of Driveline. And he said, think about it as a Roth. Like if you're investing for your retirement, it's the same thing with
Yep.
athletes. If you start earlier, the compounding effect goes into play as you get older and older and older, and it makes it easier for you to actually get in the weight room and do the things that you need to do. And you're like, if you end up not working out for a week and then jumping back in, you're going to explode right away because you've already compounded all those years building up to that point.
Well, getting back to your son, we look at early buy-in. When an athlete comes to us, at a young age, we look at the level of desire. So he already has a desire, and some parents try to give it to their kids. I'm like, it doesn't work like that. They got to have it internally. He already has a desire, so he wants to train. So he already knows, hey, this is paying off. Like, wow.
He's 14. He's 18 months into it with you. He started fall, I guess, when he was 13.
How do you create buy-in? I guess that's more of a question for you.
So I know with him, what's helped is and this is part of it, but some of his teammates and friends are in there with him. And then I think the stuff that you guys do with you and your staff.
So it becomes social first.
Yeah.
And then they want to compete with their teammates and friends, and they're in there for an hour and 15 minutes, 2-3 times a week. And it's good culture. Like they love it. They love what you guys do. I see them, right? Because I'm here in the facility, and I think there's 5 kids from my team in there. So it is. I think it's part social. There's a lot of the culture piece that keeps them coming back competing, but it's become part of their routine.
At what point does the player take over where it's like he doesn't need the social? It's just he can just go in by himself.
Well, I think all the way through, if we could keep that intact as far as like, we're having fun here. I try to keep it intact all the way through.
All the way through?
All the way to college, man. Because even at a college level, you're in a collegiate strength condition. I mean, in a strength, in the workout room, it's like, you still want to have a little bit of fun. You're going to compete. You're going to push. You're going to work hard. So you still want to have that, but there's a time to dial in and focus. Like there's no messing around. That's going to be at the next level. You know what I'm saying? But
professionally.
Yeah, I mean, at a young age, you still want to have some fun. And I tell it to every coach, like, and guys get on my butt, like, oh, they're not serious. I'm like, you let them jag around. Dude, I expect them to train year round. Okay,
Yeah.
so give them a little slack here.
Like
You know what I'm
we're going 365 days.
we're not doing this for a month or two. This is a lifestyle. So I want them to enjoy it. To get in your point is, that team camaraderie, that support, the competition. That's all a big deal.
So I got a question, Brian.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is on the sheet or not, but I'm going to go there anyway.
Uh-oh.
this
Spiker didn't
is
prep me.
just feedback for the audience and for us. So baseball player, right? There's different things in their routine. You got pitching / we'll call it arm care. Then you got the hitting component. You got your fielding, defensive component, catchers, whatever. And then you got your performance training. Okay. So so if they're trying to set their winter schedule, not so much of order of importance, but how do you set it? My mind would be pitching first because arm and recovery.
Most
Are you
definitely.
thinking more of like a team? Or are you thinking
Yeah, well, I think it's
like
become
from a coach perspective?
I'm thinking high school player probably, or middle school, but I'm thinking individual, right? And maybe more in our system where it's group training, so they're picking individual options. I would think it goes arm care and throwing because they're going to need rest days in between. I think you start with that on your weekly calendar. I would say performance training and strength goes next. Like that's where I think it's that important. Then I think you can do hitting and fielding on your own because you can do those 365 days a week.
Most definitely.
Would you agree on that? Or
100%. You always look for a hierarchy of needs, and that's kind of getting back to prioritizing things in your week and your schedule. If you say these are all non-negotiables, you got to go throw, you got to do your shoulder care, you're going to have to get to the cages and hit, field, and you got to get your workouts in. Okay, then it's a matter of figuring out, your schedule and mapping out. But like you say, is you got to figure out, when you're going to get in and what synergizes at what days. Are you going to train the same day you hit? Like with older guys, hey, you're going to go hit or you're going to go train. Oh, I'm tired. Okay, well, then we're going to train and we'll go hit. You know what I'm saying? So it's a matter of, I think, prioritizing your schedule and figure out, what makes you feel your best. Some guys may not want to, for some of my guys, hey, I'm throwing a bullpen. Okay, well, we're not doing have everybody near that because you'll be throwing, you'd be gassed. So it's kind of figuring out, especially on your position. If you're a PO, that's a different conversation. You know
you
what I'm
don't
saying?
need to go to fielding practice.
Yeah. So you're going to have to completely manage your schedule based around all that. But I would agree with you for sure. Is just figuring out how that fits into your weekly schedule, and plugging that in. And the bottom line is understanding. And I get back to the last podcast. I love Coach Saban. He's a football coach, one of the winningest in the history of the game. But he's a philosopher, and he says, talks about the illusion of choice.
Okay.
And he says, everyone thinks there's a lot of choices. We have so many different paths to become your best. There's not. You want to become the best player you can become, you got to do certain things. It takes what it takes.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to go throw. You're going to have to go work out. You're going to have to go get in the cages. You're going to have to eat right. You're going to have to do these things. So there's only one path, and it's very narrow. You know what I'm saying? This is what you have to do to become your best as a player. So some players think, well, I can just do this or do that. No, that's not what the best do. Okay? This is all stemming down from what the best players in the world do. You know what I'm saying? So don't think you could recreate. You're not special. Like you could just do whatever you want. You know what I'm saying?
Like I can go eat McDonald's. I can go Burger King.
I can not sleep and not do this. And I can skip my shoulder care, my arm care. I can not throw. I can not, I go to the cages when I feel like it. And I don't feel like working out. Well, that's suboptimal. You know what I'm saying? So kind of getting to what you're saying is these are things you have to be doing on a regular basis. So I agree with you 100%.
Routine.
Yeah, routine, man.
Got to get in a routine.
Yep.
But I think parents it's a scheduling concept too. Like there's a lot to fit in.
Yes.
And you got homework and family and social. Like it's a lot.
Yes.
It's a lot, and it seems to be getting more specialized earlier, like we touched on. And it's just interesting how to go about putting that off season together. And anyway.
And I'll say this: I'll encourage anybody. We all see players that get it all done. Okay, like I say this. Johnny's mom says, "Well, we don't have time for all this." And I tell Johnny, between me and Johnny, if you don't do it, someone else is going to do it. You know what that means. Now, this is harsh, right? There's winners, there's losers, okay? Johnny's going to make excuses why he can't get it all done, where Timmy over here does it year in, year out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and then all of a sudden Timmy gets the scholarship offers, and you don't. Well, now I know this is harsh, and this is me personally what I'm saying here, but that's the truth,
You've opened up a rabbit hole, which is how do you manage that? Because you are an owner of not just the Rawlings Tigers, but you also are the head coach of your 14U team. You also have 2 facilities under your name. You also have a franchising company. and Nolan still goes to Fitz.
And Ty still fishes.
And Ty still fishes.
My other
Well,
son's a
and
fisherman.
Ty's actually working out with Fitz too.
Ties in with Fitz.
And
Oh,
so
he's
just to
an
give
animal.
context to the conversation, Ty doesn't play a sport, right?
Ty's my 12-year-old.
Yeah, and he's a huge fisherman. He
Yeah.
loves fishing.
Yeah, doesn't care about sports at all.
Yes, but he
love him
still
for that.
trains with Fitz.
Yes.
He's the most jacked fisherman of
Hey,
all time.
all I want is-
Mind and body.
when he's on the fishing channel, all I want is a little Fitz logo on his multiple. little
He will
logos.
be the face of Fitzmaurice Performance.
Exactly,
We're going to start making fishing baits in the basement.
exactly, man.
We watched some shows this week on it. So
Mind, body, and fish, right?
Exactly right, man.
So how, like, going back to that, how do you manage everything? Because
Well-
it goes back to him. Like, you're either going to get it done or you're not going to get it done.
I mean, I'm personally a list guy. I work off list. I got to see it. It's got to be on there and it's got to be checked off. Like that's otherwise it's way too much for me to process. Like I need it down on paper to see it and just trust other people. But I think it's just schedules, just getting in a routine, staying on task, preparing, working off the calendars, and I mean, it's just talking about like with talking about Nolan's schedule, and, and
because like
baseball and everything.
He plays basketball too, right?
Yeah. So I mean, you look, and it's kind of the reason I asked the question is what do you start with? Because he's got 4 baseball skills he's got to work on: hitting, defense, pitching, and then performance.
Which that would probably give a lot of people anxiety just hearing that.
Yeah. Then we got team practice. Then he's got basketball games and practices, and he's got schoolwork. So that's a lot.
Yes.
It's busy. So
I'll say this. I learned that from my coach, Dr. Jason Salk. He always says, set it and forget it, right? When you're talking about scheduling and developing a routine,
yeah.
the power is all in the routine. With the athletes I work with, routine is everything for the higher level athletes. Is once you have that routine, you set it, and you set it in your schedule. That's what I'm sticking to. That way you're not day to day, oh my gosh, what's going on? Well, you already have it in your schedule. Like, I got to get this done. Hey, it's time to study. I got to focus. Turn my phone off. I got to power down. I got to get ready for this test. In 2 days from now, I got to take care of my stuff. All right, but my best athletes over the years are ones like you're saying is they just set a schedule and they have a routine and they know exactly when they're going to do what. Is there going to be variances? Yeah, because most kids there's going to be ebb and flow. You know what I'm saying? But the bottom line is, as a student athlete, you got to take your academics first. That's always right. Even though we're focused on sport. But, you create a schedule and a routine, and you try to stick to it as much as possible. And, the more, getting back to the buy-in, the more you think of it like, this is my lifestyle. It's not something I have to do. Something I get to do is a privilege and an honor. You know what I'm saying? That's how I become my best. Because the resistance is the mindset of, oh, my gosh, this is so much. It may not be for you.
It's adopting a lifestyle.
It's your lifestyle. That's what I do. I'm an athlete. I'm a baseball player. I want to be the best.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to what we talked about before the mics went on, which was you have a routine, you read at night, and that's just part of your lifestyle.
My lifestyle. So the more you embrace it, I think getting back to what you said, it's your routine. You're not going to think about everything I do in a day. It overwhelm you. Like, oh my gosh, you do this, you do that. Oh my gosh, you do. Wow, it's a lot. But every high level athlete has a way of just adopting that. Now you're thinking about this is what I do. Now the parents, as a parent, it's hard. I have a big family. Our family calendar on the refrigerator makes me break out in an anxiety attack.
It's kind of like the one behind us.
Yeah.
Wait till you have kids, Spike.
Yeah.
It's coming.
I asked my wife, I'm like, what's today? Don't tell me tomorrow because I might have a nervous breakdown. So it's just like, this is what you do, right? But as athletes get older, they have to adopt it. They have to take ownership of it. And your mom, can't be managing all this, okay? And this is what my last podcast, a lot of pet peeves.
Yes.
This is one of my pet peeves, okay? Your mom should not be dictating your routine and your schedule. It should be you, okay? And I'm talking freshman year. It's time for you to figure out what you're having for breakfast, when you're going to bed, when you're going to be studying, what time your hitting lesson is, or whatever it is.
When
your
are you
training
doing your
is.
laundry?
Hey, figure it out, okay? So the sooner you take ownership of that, you're gonna be way further ahead in the game. So take ownership of it soon, sooner than later.
What are the different phases of an athlete throughout the life cycle? For a year.
As far as training goes?
Yeah.
Okay. This is where a lot of people get really confused. I mean, there's all kinds of different periodization schemes. The old, I wouldn't say old, it's a Western linear periodization where we'd peak for the season and then we'd try to maintain during the season and then we'd try to, do a recovery kind of a block and then we kind of get revamped up.
It's carb season, bro.
Yeah. So we abide more of a concurrent periodization philosophy or approach, and that's
a lot of words that I have no idea what you just said.
okay.
Can
So
you break that down for me?
if we're juggling,
Yes.
okay. So a linear periodization would be I have one baseball and I'm throwing it up and down, and catching it. I'm working on my strength.
Okay.
Catching it. Pretty easy, right? And then tomorrow or in a month from now, I'm gonna pick up a different color baseball and I'm working on power.
Okay.
And then after that, I'm gonna start working on endurance. Okay.
Yep.
So it seems pretty easy, right?
Yep.
But the problem is, as soon as you put down the yellow ball and you pick up a pink ball, the yellow ball is neglected. Okay. So now we're focusing on power while you're losing strength and muscle. Okay. I want to focus on endurance, but you're losing your power. Okay. So with a concurrent approach, and that's what we focus on with most of our athletes is we're working on strength, power, speed, explosion, mobility, flexibility, all these things all at once, year round, all the time.
So it doesn't matter what phase you're
I
in.
don't
There's-
care
there-
what day of the week
there's
it is.
no
I don't care what
phases.
season it is. I want you to be stronger. I want you to build muscle. I want you to get faster. I want you to jump higher.
So do you subscribe to the thought that in season you're just maintaining?
No,
You're gaining.
gaining. Getting back to long-term athletic development, if I have a prospect I'm developing and he's a D1, D2 prospect, and he's not progressing during the season, and he comes back to me after the season, and he's declined, it's very disappointing.
Even if they were plateaued, that's disappointing for you?
Disappointing.
So really, that's a myth. Like
It's a myth, complete myth.
you can gain during season,
100%.
but your gains are probably not going to be as big as your winter gains.
False.
False. I guess look at DeGrom. I mean, he's averaging 100 mile an hour on his fastball now. So
Look at all the top pitchers in the MLB. Look at all the top home run hitters. Look how big they are. Look how strong they are. Do you
Yeah.
think they lay on the couch when they don't feel like it? No, they don't.
Funny story. When Luke started doing those one arms,
Yeah.
I tried to do that. I was like, oh, shit. I almost fell at Club Fitness. I was like, man, he's on a whole nother level now.
When they shot that, they had the reporter ESPN. He had like someone helping him, and he had like rubber plates, little plastic plates. That's too funny. But no, in season you have to. The first goal is number one, we want to maintain. Right, you're right. But number two, we look to progress. You know what I'm saying? Because we need to progress every 3 months, 3, 6, 12 months. So if you're not progressing, it's to me it's disappointing.
Explain the level of importance of water.
Well, the majority of our body is water, right?
I feel like
we're an ocean.
I feel like people don't like. I never understood it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I was like when the coach would say, "Oh, he's gonna have the damn water talk again."
Yeah. Well, think of a sponge, right? Okay, dry that mug out, all right, and then let's say, well, if you've had chemistry, if you're old enough, okay, a wet sponge will conduct electricity, right? Did you see the old Rambo?
Yeah.
Where they do like their shotgun with death, like they put the sponge on it.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we're a bag of water, okay? And electricity goes through our muscle tissue, believe it or not.
Okay.
But it travels through water. Okay? So it conducts. That's a conductor. Okay? So same thing as a wet sponge. When you hook it to electricity, it will conduct. So if you hook it up to cut a wire out of your wall and you hook it up to the sponge, you touch the other side, you're going to shock yourself. Okay? But if you dry that sponge out and you hook up electricity won't go through it. It's not going to happen. Right? Same thing with the body. So we have a nervous system, central nervous system, which conducts electrical impulses. It's actually electricity.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. No, I'm following you.
You've had physiology or something
No. I'm
You're explaining it well.
Yeah, you're explaining it well. Like
I
you're not using the big words and
neurosyntactic facilitation syndrome. I won't talk about any of that. Okay, so we're a bag of water that electricity goes through.
Yeah.
Okay, so from a performance standpoint, even the slightest bit of decline of hydration will affect your strength and power.
So talking about in-season, game-wise, how much water should someone consume before hitting the field?
Daily? Okay, so what's more important than what you did 24 or 48 hours before?
So you have to okay, so
you want pre-hydration, you want pre-prep as far as energy goes for nutrition. So what's more important is what you did the previous 24 hours. Because if you drank a gallon the day of the game and you didn't drink any in the days 1 and 2 days before, guess what's going to happen? You'll be in the bathroom all day. Okay, so you have to be super hydrated. So your tissues absorb water. Okay, so all your tissues store water. We're like a camel. Okay. So you don't want to be just drinking gallons the day of a game. During, yeah, is important. In-game hydration is very important. Okay, what's more important is leading up to it, 24 or 48 before. Okay, but general recommendations: an athlete should be consuming half their body weight in ounces of water per day. That's every single day. So let's say they're 200 pounds, 100 ounces is a lot of water. Okay, if you want to be like super hydrated, you're shooting for an ounce per pound of body weight.
Where does Gatorade and Body Armor stand in those? Because every freaking kid drinks those. Like, I remember when Body Armor came out. When Body Armor came out, every single dude was drinking Body Armor.
All right, so there's no signs of Body Armor. I mean, electrolyte replacements like that's important, but you're going to talk about nutrition in a second. I know. You have micronutrient, macronutrients. Micronutrients, your minerals are very important because they help to conduct that electricity through your tissue. Okay. So if you have electrolyte imbalance, most symptoms are, oh my God, I got cramp. Running to first base. Oh.
Yep.
Oh. Well, yeah. Or I strained my hamstring. Sometimes it's not the tissue. It's actually a electrolyte or a hydration issue. You know what I'm saying? Common stuff like hamstrings popping, a lot of times that could be nutritional deficiencies. Okay?
It's not water?
No, it could be hydration or mineral deficiency or both. You know what I'm saying?
How would you know which one you have? Just test it out. Just keep drinking.
Well, when I talk to a kid, I go, when's the last time you had a fruit or vegetable? They go, what's that?
Gotcha.
That's where you get your minerals from and vitamins. So hydration is a big deal, especially for the summer months. Guys aren't drinking enough. Really good way to look at it is when you pee.
Okay.
You should be, peeing clear.
Okay.
If you're peeing brown, you should go to the hospital, get IV.
Yep.
If you're peeing light brown, problem.
So death versus super high. So
you got problems.
Versus sponge.
Yeah, you got problems. Okay. I would say in general, most kids are dehydrated just on a daily basis, so they gotta hydrate. I always encourage kids, hey, bring a water bottle all day long around school. I don't care if the teacher complains, just say, hey, my doctor told me I had to drink a lot of water. I mean, life. Just tell them Fitz till you lie.
Dr. Fitz.
Yeah. So you got to stay hydrated all day long. That's a big problem, especially when you're in the summer months. Guys got to just stay hydrated. Get it back to the Gatorade. We recommend like kind of a diluted Gatorade. Most nutritionists would recommend more of a diluted. It's too much sugar because what happens is your blood sugar goes up and it crashes. So you're going to feel great for a little bit, then all of a sudden you crash.
So that's when you have those spikes during like tournaments.
Yeah,
you'll have a huge spike.
Some end-game carbohydrates are good. Having said that, baseball is not an aerobic sport, okay? Sorry, guys. So you don't need constant flow of carbohydrates. Basketball, soccer, football, great, but it's not necessary, for baseball a lot of times.
Where does a multivitamin play in this?
It's a good cheap insurance plan, but I'll say this, athletes need to focus first and foremost on whole nutrition. So eating fruits, vegetables, good protein, good complex carbohydrates, whole wheat bread, rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes.
So you wouldn't recommend like reds and greens?
Not to rip on any supplement companies. Fruit or veggie supplements can be added after eating real fruits and veggies. I don't ever recommend any supplements.
You wouldn't substitute?
I never recommend a supplement in lieu of food. Never. Zero, never. And I love supplements, don't get me wrong. Okay, I take a lot of supplements myself, and I recommend it for high-level athletes, not for our younger athletes. Okay, real food first. For young athletes, I have kids, 13, 14 years old. Yeah, they take a vitamin supplement. They take vitamin D. But I encourage them daily to get their fruits and vegetables. But having a one a day is a good approach. Just make sure you don't have any deficiencies. Because the conversation, we have a sports dietitian on staff. Conversation, I say, what % of the population do you think is mineral deficient or vitamin deficient? most Americans. I'd say most Americans are. They have some type of micronutrient deficiency because they don't eat right, you know. And the demands on athletes are even higher.
So it's building that foundation first, and then you can entertain the idea.
Yeah, for your general health and wellness. And then we're not even talking about, athletic performance. You're not eating right. So, I have kids showing up and they're not eating breakfast. Then they had chicken strips and French fries for lunch, and they had pizza for dinner. They go, well, Coach, I'm just tired. I'm like, well, I don't know why. I'm joking. Don't know why. Yeah.
What would be a good structure for an athlete for an in-season routine? I'm talking more like middle school and high school, because they're going in 8 weeks hard
100%
for tournaments. So the tournament starts typically Thursday, and then it'll end Sunday. They'll have double headers on Saturday and Sunday.
100%. I'll say this, twice a week is minimal. Okay, so whatever that is, if you're going hard and heavy from Thursday to Sunday, whatever it is. Having said that, I have older guys that work out during double headers. You know what I'm saying? You just got to get up a little early and get it done. But you want at least 2 full body workouts from a strength perspective. Okay,
A week.
Can
you do those back to back, or
no?
Do you want to stagger those out?
Split them up because you want a recovery day. And the reality is, in season, we're not trying to break records. You know what I'm saying? This is more sub-max lifting, full body. Working on lower body bilateral movements, unilateral movements, posterior chain movements to strengthen your butt, and hammies.
How long are those workouts usually?
45 to 60 minutes max.
Okay. I guess time frame is not really the big thing. It's
just
getting your work done.
Get the work done. I haven't said that. When I say strength training, I'm not just talking about lifting weights. When you talk about shoulder care, arm care, stuff like that, we're talking about, like, for my older athletes, they're doing pregame. They're doing 30 minutes of pregame activity. Now, for some athletes, that looks like a workout, because literally we're going through, self-malfascial release component. We're going through a mobility and flexibility component. We're going through full body activation. You guys call it, arm care, but then more activation, like, pre-pitching prep and stuff like that. Glute and core prehab. That's all muscle activation. And then going through a dynamic warm-up, which to elevate core temperature, working on dynamic flexibility, to go through, variety of dynamic flexibility movements, progressing into bounding, skipping, jumping to activate your central nervous system to perform better. So for some athletes, I think that's a workout. For my older athletes, this is what they do before every game.
So typical time frame for a coach is we got to get there an hour before.
Yeah,
but then what they do is let's go to the cage.
Yeah.
And then that's literally the routine. We'll go to the cage, and then we'll talk around. I'll talk to Fred over here.
You'll figure out what you got. Your big league chew, and you got this, that. You got your seeds with flavor.
And then you have like literally like 8 kids off to the side waiting to get into the cage, and no one's doing anything.
Now, what we talk about, the same as the last podcast, we're talking about the new generation of athletes. This is the next generation. You know what I'm saying? Not to rip on you guys, but things are a little different now. Same thing when I played. Things are different now. You know what I'm saying? So what we know about developing the body as far as preventing injury, as far as performing their best, these are things we have to do. And the reality is, because the playing field is different now, there's a lot more guys training. And I'll say this, if you're not doing those things, you'll be left behind.
Do you think an hour is enough? Like to get
for training?
No.
Pregame?
For pregame, like to get
100%.
there. To get there.
I'm not saying if you're a high school athlete, you have to spend 30 minutes on your pregame prep. I'm saying if you're doing half that and you're doing 10 to 15 minutes, because I know you're not going to do everything. So anything I give you, I'm assuming you're going to cut it in half.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I find it funny because you get to the field an hour before, and literally the other team is coming in.
Yeah.
So everyone like just bum rushes the cage.
Oh yeah, I get it.
So what I do is I'll literally say, all right, we're going to go through our pregame routine. We're going to do the dynamic warm up.
Right.
We're going to go through our shoulder care routine.
Right.
And this team like is looking around, like the other team's like looking around like, oh, there's no one here. We don't have to fight anybody. And then we come in on the back end.
You're ready to go.
And then they're already going to the dugout, and then they're just chilling in the dugout for no reason. Like they're literally sitting there just waiting.
Right. So that's getting back to your routine. You got to have routine. A lot of guys don't have routine. And I rip on a lot of my athletes. I'm like, dude, every day's different. Every day's a different bat. Every day's a different this or a different approach, a different swing. I'm like, bro, seriously? Getting back to your routine, it needs to be the same every game. How do you know what works, what doesn't? You know what I'm saying?
So what would you say the best routine for like a team would be? Like if you had a baseball team, you know a little bit about baseball skill wise, right? But you're very well versed on getting the body ready.
Sure.
How would your routine do if you had a 14U, 15U team right now?
It's mental and physical, right?
Okay.
For young guys, they gotta get focused, right?
Mm-hmm.
So part of that focusing is in their, I think, in the pregame prep. When you're going through, it's time. Okay, when you're showing up, you're jacking around. Everybody's talking about last night or playing games, whatever. Even high school kids talk about it. It's like, okay, guys, time to start focusing. You don't need to think about your assignments yet, but let's just start dialing into today and this page. You know what I'm saying? And I think, mentally and physically, when you train your body, when you're going through a pregame, whatever that is, we have scripts I do with my players, but as far as, you're doing some muscle prep and some, stretching, and then you're going through some exercises and warm-ups, you're flowing through that, and as it's getting closer and closer, you're dialing in your mind closer and more narrow focus to my assignment, what coach wants me to do.
So that's why a dynamic warm-up is so important.
Yeah, so
it's more of a mind than anything else.
It's more of a mind thing, like, hey, I'm loose to begin with, we're jacking around, all of a sudden, shoom, it's game time, it's serious. So I think that the routine, the physical aspect syncs with the mental aspect, because I know, even talking to Voight, with DJ LeMahieu's routine, it's a mental thing too. It's like you're telling your body, it's like a horse race, When the horse gets to the track, they know they're in the stall, they're chilling. Here comes the jockey, they're petting me. Okay, I know I'm chilling. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, they bring me out, they start working me out. Okay, getting a little serious. And all of a sudden, I see my competition is like, you know what I'm saying? And then they bring me to the gates. It's like, okay, it's freaking game time. I'm freaking ready to go. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. It's that mental and physical preparation and honing that and I think getting kids mentally focused, okay, it's game time, it's ready to flip a switch. So and psychologists explain it exciting the mental capacity, all these different things, getting to the zone and all this stuff. But it's just kind of getting your mind prepped for the game.
Because the last thing you want to do is literally, because if you think about it, if we just go to a cage and then there's 8 guys literally sitting there, 2 guys are in the cage getting their work in.
Yeah.
They're literally sitting there, and then all of a sudden they're dropped into
it's bad.
a 85-mile-an-hour fastball.
No, it's not good.
We're setting them up for failure. That's why, the first 3 innings, everyone can't play until about the 3rd inning.
And the thing is, I'm just skimming the surface on.
He's laughing because it's true.
It's true. Yeah. But as far as there's so many different things on the mental and the visual cognition and the recognition and the reaction and all these different things that you're trying to kind of wake up your brain to be able to recognize in baseball.
And coaches will be like, we gotta lock in. We have to lock in. We gotta focus, guys.
I ate no breakfast. I had donuts. I didn't warm up. I didn't stretch. Nothing. Let's go.
That's like going to the horse, in the stall. All right,
let's go.
We're going.
Horse, bro, I need an hour, bro. I'm not ready. So it's the same thing. And I've been around a lot of different athletes and been behind the scenes of UFC fighters and their their pre-fight sequence and just being behind the scenes with high-level athletes and just kind of breaking it down and boiling it down to for younger athletes, they do need a pregame routine, and it does need to be the same. That way, what works, what doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I can't eat these foods because I have to, or I feel my best doing this, or I got to get these stretches done. And the biggest thing we look for from a strength conditioning coach standpoint is preventing injury. Kid's not warming up properly. He's not doing stretches. He's not warming up. Boom, run to first. Bam! Oh! And I had a conversation with, I'm not naming any names, but somebody who got injured, right after tryouts, and he was coming back from an injury, but, that makes a difference. All of a sudden, you're sidelined 4 to 6 weeks. Well, you didn't do what you're supposed to get ready. You know what I'm saying?
It's a lifestyle.
Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But you try to reduce that injury prevalence with that warm-up.
I think that's the episode name is it's a lifestyle. You got to
gotta
engulf it.
Yeah, so you want to be like you say, train like a pro. Try to be like a pro in your preparation and your pregame and take this serious. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What's one thing that you would absolutely avoid at all costs during the season from a training aspect? Is there anything? Is there anything off limits?
Well, this is for a very small amount of percentage of kids, but I see some kids that are training. All of a sudden, they're trying to set records doing a straight bar deadlift or something. Like they're doing crazy stuff.
Doing absolute crazy explosive moves.
I'm like some things. I'm like, yo, you need to back off a little bit on some of that stuff. focus more on functional strength training and stuff like this. But from a training,
Like you hear kids doing CrossFit during
no, it's
during a
ridiculous.
season.
I'm 100% against CrossFit for athletes. Okay, 100%. Okay, it's random. It's this. It's that. I don't advocate for baseball players. I don't advocate hang cleans for most athletes. I don't advocate barbell work. I don't advocate a lot.
Is
of
it just
stuff.
because of the form? Like it's so hard to teach that form?
No, because of risk of injury. My father's a sports chiropractor, so growing up, I was always around injured athletes. Okay, so I'm really, really on the injury prevention side and making sure athletes don't get hurt, especially under my watch. And I'm training them, and you get hurt by what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? So, coaches have questioned me over the years. Well, why don't your baseball players do hang cleans? Why don't they do high pulls? Why don't they do push jerks? Do you know the anatomy or the functional anatomy of a shoulder joint?
So the reward is not worth the risk.
Yeah, so risk reward ratio, we always consider risk versus reward. There's different ways I could teach a kid to get explosive without lifting a bar up. You know what I'm saying?
So unless you're training to be the world's top
you want to be an Olympic lifter,
or
you got Olympic lift. You want to be a CrossFitter, you got to do those lifts. But if you want to be a great pitcher, you don't have to hang clean. If you want to be a great first baseman or outfielder,
you've got
you
to
don't
train
have to do that.
the way that you should be training.
Well, yeah. So there's different ways of training to be explosive. For Olympic lifts, we're looking for a triple extension, explosive triple extension. Okay, but we don't have to catch the bar. It's not good for your shoulders. Okay, so I see a lot of injuries. I see a lot of kids with labral tears or shoulder impingement syndrome or a lot of different shoulder mechanical issues or imbalances. And a lot of it's caused from improper training.
Long distance running versus short distance running.
Pros and cons.
I was always told we don't want to do long distance running.
Yeah, so there's pros and cons, right? There's in training, there's we like to debate all these things, but the reality is I'm more on the side of sprint, explosive power. We want to be a track athlete, not an endurance athlete with a little skinny with a little belly. But the reality is there's a time and a place for distance. When I say distance, 20, 30 minutes jogging. If you're an athlete, like I had one of my guys like, hey, I want you to do some recovery jogs. What? I'm like, bro, yeah, we like sprinting and lifting weights, but there's definitely a benefit between getting a mindless 30-minute jog. I'm not talking you're trying to set a world record.
We don't want you to be Steve Prefontaine.
No, you're not trying to frickin' be an ultra marathoner. I'm just saying, dude, just go jog. If you can't do that, we got problems. So, no. Do you have to set a mile record to be a great baseball player? Absolutely not. It's anaerobic. We want to be able to sprint and explode and be fast twitch. So we don't train slow twitch. That's endurance training. All right. That's not going to help you become a better baseball player. So, there's definitely the benefit, but most of the time, not needed.
Explain off days, rest days, recovery days. What does that entail? I think some people like to use that as an excuse to get away from certain things at times. Some people do it correctly.
All right.
But I would like to have your opinion because I actually don't know what your thoughts are on this.
Yeah, so the reality is this. It kind of depends on where you're at in the season. I do believe young athletes need a complete off day, at least one. Like I'm doing nothing.
Would you take that if I was a baseball player? Because obviously games are Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah.
Would you do it Monday?
Yeah, that would be a good time. The debate we'll have is, do you want to do active recovery or complete, passive recovery where you're doing nothing? You're playing Xbox all day. You know what I'm saying? So
what do you think most people are going to go with?
Well, they're going with Xbox, and that could be a whole different podcast, but we're pushing back on sedentary athletes. There's a rise of sedentary athletes, we call it, that are high performance athletes, but in their downtime, they're doing nothing. Right, so that's a problem too. So we say some active recovery is good. For throwing, you're doing some band work, you're doing some shoulder girdle work for shoulder care. That really helps you recover faster. Doing some mobility and some flexibility work. So we're really more advocate of more active recovery, getting the blood flowing with some light aerobic activity. That's going to help you recover faster. But I get it. Sometimes you just want to zone out and you don't want to think about baseball. And I have older guys that are they get paid to play. They don't want to think about baseball. I played it for past 3-4 days and I just need a break. Don't even talk to me about it. I get it. Sometimes you just want to chill and relax. So
But you'd be a fan of more active recovery. Active recovery is literally you might go for a light jog.
Yeah, you go for a walk, jog. You're doing some foam rolling. You're doing some jogging. You're doing some foam rolling. You're doing some stretching. You're doing some Jaeger bands. You're doing a little bit of a core activation, and you're calling it a day. You know what I'm saying? That's just to kind of wake up your nervous system, flush it out, and feel a little better.
Is that the best way to deal with muscle soreness? Because one issue is that with a lot of strength guys, I feel like they don't know how the soreness of a baseball player feels.
True.
They played football, so they know the
Yeah.
soreness of after a football game.
Mm-hmm.
Two totally different things.
100%.
Because like after a football game on a Friday night,
Yeah.
the next day you literally don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
But with baseball, it's more like a marathon soreness. Like
Yeah.
you're just dealing with soreness constantly.
Yeah. So the biggest thing we look at more like recovery training is like for football, it's common practice after a hard game, you're going to the weight room. It could be right after a game. It could be the next morning when you're just banged up.
That's an easy day for. I mean, it must
No,
sound like that's
no.
their-
It's actually in football, the football field. That's how we help the athletes.
That's what I'm saying.
recover
Like
faster.
compared to a game
No,
mode and
so-
hitting in the
But like,
Yeah.
are you lifting hard that day?
Yeah. Sometimes
No
you will.
way.
Yeah. So it's so pain is neurological. Soreness is neurological. Okay. So you have neuromuscular components. So some of it's neurological, like you have pain receptors. Oh, my muscles are sore. So you have to ask yourself, am I not prepared for the demands of the game? So from a strength conditioning standpoint, if you're overly sore, I would say you're not in shape. That's my first thing. You could have nutritional issues, but I'll say this: strength component helps you recover faster. Okay, so some of my minor league and pro guys, when they're sore, they go lift, they actually feel a whole lot better. Like, oh my gosh, I'm awake. Because it's a neurological response, so it resets your nervous system. B, the muscles are activated. But C, there's a hormonal response. Okay, so there's a neuroendocrine response. Okay, connected between the central nervous system and your endocrine system. Okay, so for males, they have testosterone, they have growth hormone, they have a variety of different things cascade from training. Okay,
Yeah.
so we train to boost all those. Okay,
Okay.
so cortisol and all these different stress hormones happen when we're stressed out, high stress or adrenaline, and that turns into stress during a game. So we want to flush all that out. Okay, so strength training helps you reset that neurohormonal response also.
So this is actually good for parents too, because some parents will be like, "Oh, I worked out yesterday, so I'm really sore. I'm gonna take the day off today.
yeah, bro, come on.
Just get back in there and do something."
That's not what the pros do, right?
Yeah.
So, I'll say this, for young athletes, whether you're doing active recovery, strength training actually will help you feel better. Okay, sometimes when you don't feel like going in there, you don't feel like lifting weights, you don't feel like doing any of that stuff.
That's probably the most important day.
Sometimes
for you.
it's like, you just need to, are you setting records? No. It could be 50 to 60%, sub max. You're just getting through the movements. You're getting the blood flowing. You're activating your nervous system. You're going to recover a lot faster. It's not my opinion. Science has proven this.
Well, then it goes back to the original question for baseball players.
Yeah.
I have a Friday night game.
Yep.
High intensity, stress level is very high. Adrenaline was running. The next day, I have a 10 a.m. game. Then I have a scheduled 12 p.m. game. How would you approach that if I'm super sore in the morning? I wake up.
So
Like, are you waking up at, because I got to be there at 9 a.m. Are you waking up at 8, rolling out of the bed and just going to the field?
No,
Or would you recommend, hey, bite the bullet, go to bed, try to get to bed early, don't stay up, and then recover? Like wake up early.
You got to be a professional, man. So you're taking care of business. Let's say like you're going to the fields, you want to perform your best. You got to take it like a professional. So you got to know what's best for you. So you got to go to bed early. Okay, recovery nutrition is huge as far as the post game, getting tons of fluids, electrolytes, replace protein, carbohydrates, doing all those things to refuel your liver, your muscles of energy. Getting up early, okay, whether you like it or not, it's gonna be a shock to your body.
So
okay?
try to get at least 7 hours of sleep.
You got to try to get your 7 or 8 hours. I mean, 8 hours would be nice, but if you can't get it, you're 7. Okay, so we'll talk about sleep in a second, but anyways, so get up. If you have your pregame routine, your pregame is really going to be kind of your recovery also. It's going to help to wake up your body, flush out your blood, get oxygen and wake up your nervous system, wake up your muscles, and get prep for the next game, okay? So a lot of that soreness, stuff like that, you're going to have to suck it up. It's part of the game, okay? So a lot of times you get mentally fixated on that versus say, oh my gosh, I'm the only person sore out here. No, you're not. Suck it up, okay? All right, so you're going to have to man up a little bit. So you're going to have to get your mindset prepped, meaning, this is what we do, okay? I got to do my pregame. I'm going to wake up my muscles. I'm going to roll out, stretch out. I'll be ready to go, okay? So you have nutritional, you have mental, and you have physical prep. But the reality is, you have to do whatever works best for you, okay? And you have to figure out what that best routine is, okay? But that's going to be pregame prep. That's going to be getting your training in, and no excuses, okay? Especially when in the summertime, like you're talking about. For most players, it's a complete disaster when it comes to strength conditioning, when it comes to progress. And I'm not the only one to say this all the time. Eric Cressy is one that's very vocal about this. He goes, "You guys, during the summer are tragically losing all your gains that we've worked on." You know what I'm saying? You're not eating properly. You're not working out at all. You're not sleeping. You're stressed out. You're eating crap. You know, and you come back to me and you go, "Whoa." You know what I'm saying? So do the best you can.
Well, then what do you tell to the person that says, "Well, I'm a night owl. There's no way I can go to sleep at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. Like I'm literally sitting there staring at a ceiling and just looking at the ceiling, and I can't fall asleep."
You haven't trained your mind. You haven't trained your body to sleep.
So it's discipline.
Okay, it's discipline. I tell myself I'm a morning person. I wake up at 5 a.m. I wake up at whatever, earlier in the past. Do I like that? No.
I don't think anyone likes waking up early.
I tell myself I'm a morning person.
I don't think anyone likes waking up early.
I'm a morning person.
I love it when I'm up.
I am a morning person. I'm a morning person.
Yeah.
Okay, you do what it takes. Yeah. You got to get your sleep, okay? But I'm not saying you have to discipline yourself. If you know what's best for you, going to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, serving Snapchat or house party, or I don't know what the heck you guys are doing. And I can't sleep and I didn't recover. That's your problem.
Talk about sleep and how many hours someone should get. Is there there's a minimum, obviously, but what's the max that is like you can you be too much sleep?
I look at what the experts say on this. So with any recommendations I make, I find the expert on it and I just regurgitate what they say. So you have physiological recovery, then you have more mental, right? So you have like neuropsychiatrists or all these different experts that say like routine is a big deal with a mental state. Mm-hmm. All right, physiological state, the routine is important, like same wake up time is important for like your circadian rhythms and all these different, there's energy flow and all these other voodoo things.
Yes.
All right. Then I'm not going to get into, I'm not an expert on that. Okay, but there's very sophisticated rhythms that your body has. Okay, mm-hmm. So we want to try to be in a routine as much as possible. But there's also a concept called, and this is the Sleep Foundation, this is called a sleep bank, okay, where you got to think of your sleep like a bank account. So let's say we have 7 days in a week. Let's say we want to, our average sleep we try to shoot for, 10 hours a night. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we do our math, right? So we have 70. Let's say we want to try to get 70 hours in a week, and we keep track of it. Sleep researchers say that we can recover some lost sleep. You know what I'm saying? So, and kind of put a sleep deposit. So, man, I had a late game, got to bed late. I only got 5.5 hours sleep. You're at a deficit, mm-hmm. whatever. You're at a 4.5, 5 hour deficit, whatever it is. You're gonna have to regain that
at some point.
At some point during the week, or there's a deficit that's a rolling deficit, like a bank account.
It almost becomes like your recovery day. That's when you're going to be sleeping a lot.
Yeah, you're going to have to shut it down and sleep a little longer. You may feel groggy when you wake up, but you need to regain that sleep. So they say if you're conscious about the 7-day cycle and just kind of recovering that sleep bank and replenishing the sleep bank, that's the proper way to recover.
So don't think about it as like day to day.
Don't day to day.
Think about it
more
as
of a weekly.
Weekly.
And making sure that you
try
to
sense.
recover that sleep. And I think if you kind of maintain that sleep bank concept, I think it will help you to recover better, physiological recovery better, mentally feel better, and feel more prepped and fresh to play your best.
Let's talk about online training. We're at that year mark where I remember it was literally like yesterday. You were literally pounding out online training because kids couldn't come into the facility.
Yeah.
Which was pretty impressive. Like you were set up ready to roll.
When you're going out of business, you make shifts. So when you're 20 years in business, you've never seen a pandemic. Oh, what? The government's going to shut you down. Oh, cool. 24 hours. What can I do? Yeah. So that was.
But I mean, like, just how you were able to shift so fast.
Yeah. So
Because I didn't see anyone else doing that fast.
Well, it's really a level of desperation. Really, I had to figure out how am I going to reach my athletes, how are we going to get training, how are we going to get going. So we made a decision. Hey, we're going to put it online, and
But what I find interesting about this is that I can totally see someone needing that during a season because they're traveling.
100%. So several different ways.
Like I don't think it was just like a one-off.
No,
it was
no.
literally like I could see this happening.
No.
Consistently.
No, 100%. So, on the road, we do custom program design and distance coaching right now. We've done that all along, so I work with athletes that travel, that are out of state or whatever. So what we do with custom program design is we'll set up, a 30-minute intro session or a consultation. We'll meet on FaceTime or on Zoom, and we'll break down, your background, your goals, injuries, history, all that stuff. And then figure out your needs and goals and develop a game plan as far as strength and conditioning goes, and everything you need with recovery, flexibility, all that stuff. And design the program, and then you attack it, on your own. You know what I'm saying? We also have different app offerings like that as far as design goes, where someone could download the app. We don't like using cookie cutter programs as much because sometimes it's misinterpreted, and then guys think I should be using this then, and blah 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 blah, and it kind of gets used out of context. So that's a problem I have with kind of like bottled up programs. Is like, oh, I'm doing that program, we'll do that. We're not supposed to do that right now. You're supposed to do that then. So it kind of gets, if someone's not following properly, that's where it could be.
You personalize it really well.
Personalized, right? So this is what you're doing. This 2 weeks. A microcycle or mesocycle this month. This is what we're focusing on.
Well, then the first question that I would have if I was a parent is like, well, what do I do if like it's a hotel?
Yeah.
Like, how can I do a workout in a hotel?
Yeah, you just make it do. Hotels typically have a little bit of weights. If not, we could do some body weight work. And body weight strength training is sufficient a lot of times. And for guys, they carry bands in a bag. It's not that difficult. So we're not trying to break out a full weight rack or something, So the reality is most hotel gyms have.
So you're not like The Rock where you have like.
Yeah, bro. You're not bringing the tent and all the machines with you. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Unless you got.
Fitz actually has that where. Yeah, no, I'm joking. Joking.
We're not bringing an RV. Well, however, Jaws is here, so we could have a Tiger's RV, like like the PGA has.
One of his players has an RV.
Well, yeah, I've seen that too. So Jaws, that's next in line after you guys get all that done. Is the Tiger's
a traveling
RV,
weight room.
Well, the PGA has it for all the golfers. So that boom, they open that mug up, boom, they put out a tent. Let's go, get to work.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, they train year round, even all the way up. So they have it on tour. So the golfers train year round, guys. Okay,
you've put a seat into
Jaws RV next summer.
Let's get it done.
Screw the RV. Let's go with a hangar.
Let's get it done.
So
I'm in.
Listen, dudes. The bottom line is get it done, man. It's your job to figure it out. Okay?
Find a gym in the area.
Find a gym.
I mean, you don't need to be
Well,
at the
it
hotel.
wouldn't
Just go.
kill you to go to find a place to go. Either it's all over the country. Is it inconvenient? Is it hard? Is it But so is
And I think if they ask their parents, they're going to take them. Be my guess.
Yeah.
Well, think about Planet Fitness. There's Planet Fitnesses everywhere.
Yeah.
And that costs what? How much a month? $10 a month?
Yeah.
That's like a no-brainer.
It's not that big a deal.
Yeah, even for I think you can do it from like a time frame too. So like if you did it for the summer, if I was on a team that traveled 5 or 6 times a year,
Right.
I would totally do that.
Right.
Like for colleges, you can use the university's weight room. So like when they go, they can actually use the other university's weight room.
100%.
So, but if I was just a travel team, I mean, easy access. Let's go Planet Fitness and knock this thing out. The purple walls will scare you a little bit, but you're fine.
You get over it.
The take-home message, guys, is if you're training year-round, you're going to perform your best. You're going to be throwing harder, hitting harder, running faster. But the bottom line is if you're a college recruit, okay, and you're preparing, number one, to be your best, to get recruited. Once you do get recruited, you're preparing for the collegiate, participation and competition. When you go to college, you're training year-round, right? Did you ever have a day off? Did you ever have a week off or a month off at college?
Nope.
No. Okay. So we're preparing you for that. So that way, when you go in your freshman year, you're not broken by the strength coach going, oh, you're a newbie. So you're going to be holding this, 20-pound kettlebell for the next 2 years. You know what I'm saying? You're ready to dominate, when you get there.
I didn't get to ask this question. It just popped in my head. Yoga. What's your thoughts on yoga?
I think yoga is good. I think there's better things. some stuff like the core stretching, we have adopted, cat cow, child's pose, all that stuff for all of our baseball players. But some stuff like where you're holding just elongated positions for very long periods of time, not a huge fan of.
Okay.
Because with athletes, we want, especially young athletes, we want their
So you would like a mix of it.
Yeah,
like
hybrid. We'll take some of the stuff, but the problem with if I took a yogi master and I test them on a vertical jump, they're not going to be explosive.
That's true.
Right? They can wrap their foot around their head.
So their mobility is just off the charts.
Their mobility is off the chart, but the problem is their nervous system is not responsive either. So, and not to get too in depth, but too much stretching for athletes is not good also.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because it's all about neuromuscular response. So we want that the motor neurons that fire the muscle fibers very fast and very explosive. So you want to hit hard, or you want to throw hard, you got to be explosive. Okay, so we don't want long, stretchy, unresponsive muscles, that have terrific mobility but can produce no force. You know what I'm saying? So we want that balance, right? Good range of motion, good mobility, but optimal force production. So that's the name of the game. So, yeah, it's a big deal.
This has been another epic conversation.
Yeah, always fun, man. We always get off on tangents and I'll talk about whatever. And yeah.
So I appreciate you coming in.
Pleasure.
The big thing I want is how can people get in contact with you? Do you want them to follow your Instagram?
So you can follow us on Instagram. They could direct message DM us on Instagram. They could hit us up, call us or text us, 636-391-6565.
Okay.
They could email us at info@fitzmauriceperformance.com. And just get in contact for distance coaching.
And what's your Instagram handle? Putting you on the spot again.
Fitzmaurice Performance.
At Fitzmaurice Performance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, just you'll find it. It's not that big a deal.
Just type in Fitzmaurice.
Yeah,
you'll get there. Guys, reach out to Fitz if you want some more info on his training program and what he has to offer his athletes. Follow him on Instagram. I love his account. There's a lot of great stuff that he's posting too. So, Jaws, thanks for jumping in on this conversation. Brian, thanks again. See you guys.
Thanks, Vince.